Let's just jump right into this explainer, guys, and unpack the messy, totally fascinating, and sometimes completely baffling science of human romance. I mean, we've all been there, right? Up at 2 in the morning, overanalyzing a text message, wondering why we feel literally crazy about someone, or trying to figure out why a perfectly good relationship is suddenly tanking. Well, today, we're actually going to look at the hard data behind all those feelings. Seriously. If you've ever wondered if you're just a passenger to your own biology when you're dating, you are definitely not alone. It often feels like our brains have just been hijacked. And as we're about to see through the research, that feeling of being hijacked, it isn't just a metaphor. It's a literal neurochemical reality. Okay, part 1, the biology of love, featuring Helen Fisher's 3 brain systems. To really understand our chaotic dating lives, we've got to look at the hardwired neurochemistry mapped out by biological anthropologist Dr. Helen Fisher. She and her team literally put over 100 people into brain scanners just to find out exactly what's going on under the hood when we fall in love. So step 1, lust. Step 2, attraction. Step 3, attachment. Fisher found out that human reproduction isn't just one big, messy emotion. It's actually driven by 3 distinct but deeply interconnected emotion-motivation systems in the mammalian brain. Each one of these evolved for a very specific evolutionary purpose, and each is fueled by its own unique cocktail of hormones and neurotransmitters. Let's start with the most basic drive. First up is lust, which is basically the non-selective sex drive fueled by testosterone and estrogen to get us searching for any appropriate partner. At this base level, lust operates simply to overcome physical inertia, to just initiate the mating process. Driven primarily by testosterone and estrogen, and yeah, that's in both men and women, this system is just a non-selective craving for sexual gratification. It's literally the engine that just gets us off the couch and looking for any genetically appropriate partner. Then we have attraction, or romantic love. This is that focused, obsessive energy driven by dopamine and norepinephrine to secure a specific mate. That general drive we just talked about eventually narrows down into this intense honeymoon phase. Your brain just gets flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine, and your serotonin levels actually drop. This creates that hyper-focused, obsessive energy where you basically can't stop thinking about this one specific person. What's absolutely wild here is that Dr. Fisher's brain scans showed this activity originates in the ventral tegmental area, or the VTA, which is a core part of the brain's reward pathway. Actually, it's the exact same neural pathway associated with the euphoric highs and intense cravings of addiction. Evolution basically designed this so we conserve our time and energy by focusing exclusively on a single mate. And finally, attachment, or companionate love. This brings feelings of calm, security, and emotional union driven by oxytocin and vasopressin. Because let's be real, we couldn't sustain that obsessive dopamine-fueled high forever. We'd literally burn out. So as the relationship deepens, the brain transitions into this attachment phase. Driven by oxytocin and vasopressin, this system is all about feelings of calm, security, and deep emotional union. From an evolutionary standpoint, this kicks in just to ensure 2 people stick together long enough to raise a child through infancy. Moving on to part 2, the structure of love, specifically Sternberg's triangular theory. So biology gives us the raw emotional and chemical materials, sure, but it doesn't really explain the actual relationships we build out of them. For that, we turn to psychologist Robert Sternberg. He shows us exactly how we structure our partnerships using those biological building blocks. Take a look at this. This is Robert Sternberg's 1986 psychological review paper, which established the triangular theory of love. When he published this foundational paper, he basically took love from this mysterious, undefinable feeling and mapped it onto a highly structured psychological triangle. He argued that love isn't just one giant blob of positive emotion, but it's actually a combination of very specific components. He broke it down into 3 steps. 1, intimacy, which is warm. 2, passion, which is hot. And 3, decision or commitment, which is cold. Basically, Sternberg proposed that every single romance is a mixture of these 3 things. First, intimacy, the warm component. These are your feelings of closeness, connectedness, and emotional bondedness. Second, passion, the hot component, the motivational drives that lead to physical attraction and romance. And third, decision and commitment, the cold cognitive component, that active, conscious choice to love someone and the long-term commitment to actually maintain it. Now, if you look at this table showing the 8 types of love, ranging from non-love all the way to consummate love, you can see how they map against intimacy, passion, and commitment. These 3 building blocks combine to create 8 totally distinct types of relationships. For example, if you only have passion, well, that's just infatuation, a really unstable crush. If you have commitment without any intimacy or passion, you've got empty love, which might be the end stage of a deteriorating relationship. But if you combine intimacy and commitment after the passion has faded away, you get companionate love, which is super common in long-term stable marriages. And if you have passion and commitment but no intimacy, you might find yourself in fatuous love, basically rushing into things way too quickly. Each combination creates a completely different romantic dynamic. Which brings us to consummate love, the rare center of the triangle containing intimacy, passion, and commitment. This right here is the absolute holy grail. But Sternberg gives us a pretty serious warning here. Achieving it is one thing, keeping it is a whole other ballgame. Without constant action and real effort to maintain it, the passion inevitably fades and the relationship will just downgrade into a different type of love. Okay, so part 3, the psychology of you, focusing on adult attachment theory. If we understand the underlying biology and we know exactly which structural components we need to maintain it, why on earth is dating still so incredibly hard? Why do we still self-sabotage perfectly good relationships? Well, this brings us to the most personal part of our explainer today. This is adult attachment theory, which basically says our systematic, habitual patterns in adult romantic relationships are based on internal working models formed during infant caregiver bonding. So, based on the early work of John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, who originally studied how infants react when separated from their mothers, researchers in the 1980s, like Cindy Hazen and Philip Shaver, made a massive breakthrough. They realized that the emotional bond between adult romantic partners works almost exactly like the bond between infants and caregivers. Our childhood experiences literally create internal working models, essentially subconscious blueprints that fundamentally dictate how we respond to intimacy, trust, and relationship threats as adults. Look at this baseline population data from Hazan and Shaver's early research. 60% secure, 20% avoidant, 20% anxious. When they looked at these numbers, they found something super striking. Roughly 60% of people are wired for security, but that leaves a massive 40% of people who are out there navigating the dating pool with some form of an insecure attachment style, split pretty evenly in this early data between avoidant and anxious types. And here's the comparison: secure attachment, where someone seeks support when the relationship is threatened, versus insecure attachment, where someone becomes clingy, manipulative, or emotionally distant. You really see a person's true attachment style flare up when a relationship is threatened. A securely attached person can usually maintain their emotional balance. They'll openly express their feelings and just ask for support. An insecurely attached person, though, reacts drastically differently. Their attachment system just gets totally triggered, and they might become overly needy and clingy. Or, on the flip side, they might completely shut down and push their partner away. So it all comes down to the two dimensions of attachment: anxiety, which is the fear of rejection, and avoidance, which is the discomfort with closeness. Ultimately, your specific style is determined by where you fall on these two distinct psychological scales. The first is attachment anxiety, basically your fear of rejection and abandonment. The second is attachment avoidance, which is your level of discomfort with emotional closeness and relying on other people. Where you land on these two axes creates the 4 adult attachment styles. Let's break them down. First up are the characteristics of secure attachment. They openly express emotions, they're comfortable with dependence, they have high self-worth, and they're resilient in conflict. These individuals score low on both anxiety and avoidance. They generally have positive views of themselves and positive views of others. Because they're perfectly comfortable with intimacy and don't constantly panic about being abandoned, they make fantastic, resilient partners. I mean, if you need a night out with friends, a secure partner doesn't freak out. They just trust the bond. Then we have the characteristics of anxious or preoccupied attachment. High anxiety, craves deep intimacy, fears abandonment, hyperactivates during stress, and is overly dependent. These folks have low avoidance but super high anxiety. Their deep craving for intimacy is ironically combined with this constant, honestly exhausting fear that their partner is going to abandon them. When they get stressed, their attachment system just hyperactivates. They might become overly dependent, hyperanalyze your text messages for any tiny change in tone, and demand constant reassurance, mainly because their self-worth is almost entirely tied up in the relationship. On the flip side, look at the characteristics of dismissive avoidant attachment. High avoidance, low anxiety, hyper-independent, emotionally distant, and uncomfortable with closeness. They have high avoidance but low anxiety. To protect themselves, they completely shut down their need for others. They really pride themselves on being hyper-independent and self-sufficient, often viewing emotional reliance as an absolute weakness. When things get a little too intimate or their partner really needs emotional support, the dismissive avoidant will instinctively just pull away and create distance. And finally, the characteristics of fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment: high anxiety, high avoidance, craves connection but fears vulnerability, and engages in push/pull dynamics. This one is high anxiety and high avoidance, which creates a highly stressful, totally chaotic push and pull dynamic. This person desperately wants love and connection, but because they inherently view others as unsafe or threatening, they're terrified of actually letting anyone get close. They're basically caught in a trap of craving intimacy while simultaneously running away from it. Which brings us to this quote: "Attachment is founded on the nonverbal emotional communication developed between caregiver and infant." And honestly, this leads to such a profound realization. Your attachment style, it isn't a personality flaw. It's a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. If you find yourself constantly anxious or pulling away from love, you aren't broken. You're just operating on an old psychological blueprint that was originally designed to protect you back when you were entirely dependent on your caregivers. And the really good news is, with self-awareness and active effort, something psychologists call earned security, roughly 30% of people can and do shift their attachment styles over time. So now that you know the science, what's your style? We have covered a ton of ground in this explainer today. We've seen how our brains essentially drug us with dopamine and oxytocin, how we have to actively build intimacy and commitment, and how our childhood blueprints basically dictate our adult habits. So I leave you with this. Knowing all the biological and psychological forces at play, are you going to remain a passenger to your biology, or are you ready to become the active architect of your own love life? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, guys, and I'll catch you next time.